You've probably heard that the key to financial independence is simply earning more money. Get a raise, land a better job, start a side hustle that blows up overnight, and suddenly everything clicks into place. But here's what nobody actually tells you. Financial independence has almost nothing to do with how much money flows into your life. It has everything to do with the rules you follow and the discipline you maintain once that money arrives. My name is Flint, and yes, I know, I got that old school name from my grandmother's brother. If you're in your 50s like me, and you're trying to figure out how to get financially stable as quickly as possible, you're in the right place. Today we're going deep on the money rules that genuinely separate people who build lasting wealth from people who earn good incomes for decades and somehow end up with almost nothing to show for it. And I want to be honest with you up front. These rules are not complicated. They're not secret. They're not locked behind some expensive course or financial advisor. What makes them powerful is consistency. What makes them rare is discipline. Most people understand these concepts intellectually and then ignore them emotionally. So let's change that starting right now. Let me paint you a picture before we dive into the rules themselves. Imagine two people sitting in the same city, living in similar neighborhoods, going through similar daily routines. Bo earns $90,000 a year. Luke earns $55,000. Now here's the interesting part. Luke has 18 months of living expenses saved, invests consistently every single month, and sleeps without financial anxiety. Bo checks his bank account with genuine dread and is, statistically speaking, about 2 missed paychecks away from a real crisis. The gap between them is not income, it's behavior. It's the rules they live by. That's the entire foundation of what we're discussing today. Yeehaw! If you know, you know. Rule number 1 is the rule that everything else is built on. Money is a learnable game, and you have to commit to learning it. This sounds obvious, but most people never fully accept it. They treat financial success as something that just happens to certain people, people who got lucky, people who had advantages, people who are just naturally good with numbers. That belief is the most expensive story you will ever tell yourself. I know because I told those same stories to myself for many years. It's hard, but if you truly want to become financially stable, you must stop making excuses. The money game has rules, it has strategies, it has patterns that repeat across time and across different income levels. And like any game, the more you study it, the more you practice it, the better your results become. This means reading about money regularly, not obsessively or neurotically, but consistently. It means understanding how compound interest works, how taxes affect your actual take-home wealth, how inflation quietly erodes money sitting idle, and how investing creates the kind of growth that no savings account will ever match. The commitment to learning the game is not optional if you want to win it. You cannot navigate a system you refuse to understand. Rule number 2. Track every single dollar with precision. This is not about being restrictive, it's about being aware. Most people have only a rough idea of where their money actually goes, but rough ideas do not build wealth. Precision does. When you genuinely track your spending for 30 days without changing anything, just observing, the results are almost always shocking. The subscriptions you forgot about, the convenience purchases that add up to hundreds, the dining habits that feel casual but cost a fortune over a month. Awareness creates friction between impulse and action. When you know you're tracking every dollar, you pause before spending. That pause is where financial discipline actually lives. The tool you use doesn't matter much. You can track this in a spreadsheet for free. What matters is that you do it consistently. 5 minutes a day. That's all it takes to shift from financial fog to financial clarity. Rule number 3 is one of the most psychologically powerful shifts you can make. Pay yourself first, not last. The traditional approach most people use goes like this. Pay rent, pay bills, cover groceries, handle entertainment, and if anything happens to survive that gauntlet, put what's left into savings. But there is never anything left. Expenses have this remarkable ability to expand and consume every dollar available to them. It's called Parkinson's Law, and it will drain you every single time if you let it. This one kicked my fourth point of contact for decades. The solution is elegant and simple. Before you pay anyone or anything else, move a portion of your income directly into savings or investments. Treat it exactly like a non-negotiable bill. Even if that amount is small right now, even if it's just 5% of your paycheck, the habit matters more than the amount in the beginning. When you pay yourself first, your brain adapts to living on what remains. You find ways to make it work. When you save what's left over, there's nothing left to save because your spending will always rise to meet your available balance. Remember, no excuses. You can make it work. If you really want financial stability, you must. Rule number 4 is mandatory, regardless of where you are financially. Build your emergency fund before you do anything else with extra money. I know some people want to jump straight into investing, and we will absolutely get there. But without an emergency fund, every investment you make is at risk of being liquidated the moment life throws something unexpected at you. And life will. A car repair, a medical bill, a sudden job loss, an urgent home repair, these are not extraordinary events. They're the normal texture of life. Without an emergency buffer, every one of these ordinary disruptions becomes a financial crisis. Start with $1,000. That's your first goal. Not a massive, overwhelming number, just $1,000 in a separate account you do not touch unless there is a genuine emergency. Once you have that, build toward 1 month of living expenses, then 3 months, then eventually 6 months. The emergency fund changes your psychology in ways that are hard to describe until you experience them. You stop making desperate financial decisions out of fear. You stop avoiding doctor visits because of cost anxiety. You stop lying awake calculating what you'd do if something went wrong. Security changes how you think, and how you think determines how you behave with money. On a side note, some of you may be thinking, why don't I just use my investments or my credit card as the emergency buffer? Let's take a look at that for a moment. When you're forced to sell your investments for an emergency, most of the time there is a taxable event associated with it. So not only are you hurting your portfolio by reducing your income-generating investments, it's costing you even more money to do so. With credit cards, don't forget that a 20 to 29 negative return on your money is going to cost you much more in interest than you can ever possibly make in the stock market. These ideas aren't going to help you. They're just going to end up delaying your ultimate goal of becoming financially stable for a very long time. Okay, good talk. Rule number 5 is about understanding what actually constitutes an asset versus a liability, and this distinction is genuinely life-changing. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket or grows in value over time. A liability is something that pulls money out of your pocket regularly. Most people think their car is an asset, their wardrobe is an asset, their expensive gadgets are assets. These are liabilities disguised as necessities. The average cost of owning a car, accounting for insurance, maintenance, fuel, and depreciation, is significant enough to represent one of the largest ongoing expenses in most households. That is money consistently leaving your pocket. A real asset might be a marketable skill you can monetize, an investment that grows in value or generates dividends, a side project that produces income, or education that increases your earning capacity. The financially disciplined ask a simple question before every major purchase. Is this putting money in my pocket or taking it out? And the rule that wealthy people follow, which is almost counterintuitive at first, is to buy assets first and let the income from those assets eventually fund the liabilities they want. Poor financial habits do this entirely in reverse. I struggled with this rule for years before I truly understood it and finally put it into practice. Rule number 6 is about the most powerful force in personal finance, and almost everyone underestimates it. That force is compound growth, and it runs in 2 directions. It builds your wealth when you invest consistently, and it destroys your financial life when you carry debt. Understanding both sides of compounding is essential. On the investment side, money invested early and left alone grows exponentially over time. A relatively modest amount invested consistently in broad index funds over several decades builds into genuine wealth through the mathematics of compounding. On the debt side, carrying credit card balances at rates that can exceed 20% annually means you are paying enormous sums for the privilege of borrowing against your own future. The rule here is use credit strategically and only carry balances you can pay in full each month. Credit is not free money. It's borrowed future income with a significant tax applied. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Flint, I'm in my 50s and I don't have several decades to invest for compound growth to work for me like that. Well, this is true. Up to a point. We don't have as much time left as someone in their 20s and 30s, but we still have other advantages. Some of us are able to contribute more to our investment portfolio than a 20 or 30-year-old. The limits for 401k and IRA contributions are also increased. Some of us have untapped skills built over a 30-year span of time that we can find ways to monetize to help us invest more in a shorter period of time. Think about what those might be. How can you take your career skills outside of your career and make money? Coaching? Consulting? What about hobbies? How about a cooking class, a carpentry course, a class on restoring old cars, or fishing, or even raising chickens? Rule number 7 is about the concept of enough, and this is where discipline and psychology intersect in a way that most financial advice ignores completely. One of the most dangerous traps in personal finance is never defining what enough looks like. Without that definition, income growth consistently leads to lifestyle expansion rather than wealth building. You earn more, so you upgrade your home. You get a raise, so you buy a newer car. You land a better job, so your spending immediately scales to match. This is the definition of lifestyle inflation, and it ensures that regardless of how much you earn, you remain dependent on every single paycheck. The financially disciplined define what enough means before they start earning more. They decide in advance what level of home is genuinely sufficient, what vehicle actually meets their needs, what standard of living constitutes real comfort rather than social performance. When your lifestyle has a defined ceiling, every dollar earned above your current spending flows directly into savings and investments. The person earning $150,000 annually with a well-defined enough at $60,000 of spending is building wealth at a pace that will change their life within a decade. This is where you need to get to. The person earning the same amount but consistently redefining enough upward may never accumulate meaningful financial security. Rule number 8 is the discipline of investing consistently no matter what. And I want to emphasize the words no matter what, because consistency is precisely what most people abandon at the worst possible moments. Markets go down and people stop investing, or worse, they sell. Economic news gets scary and people pull back. Life gets expensive temporarily and people skip their investment contributions. Every one of these decisions costs a fortune over time, because the math of consistent investing over decades is genuinely staggering. And with the rest of the time we have left, it's critical to stick to this investment plan, no matter what. When you invest a fixed amount every single month, regardless of what markets are doing, you naturally buy more shares when prices are low and fewer when prices are high. This is called dollar cost averaging, and it's one of the most powerful principles in long-term wealth building. It removes the impossible task of trying to time markets and replaces it with something far more manageable and far more effective. Consistent behavior repeated over years. The investors who build real wealth are rarely the ones who made brilliant market calls. They're almost always the ones who simply never stopped investing. Rule number 9 is about automation, and it's the infrastructure that makes all these other rules sustainable. You are human. You will have bad weeks. You will have stressful months. You will face temptation, exhaustion, and moments where the immediate feels more compelling than the future. Automation means your financial systems execute correctly even when your discipline is temporarily depleted. Set up automatic transfers so that the moment your paycheck arrives, a portion moves immediately to savings before you see it. Set up automatic investment contributions. Set up automatic bill payments so you never accumulate late fees from forgetfulness. When you automate the right behaviors, you eliminate the single most significant threat to consistent financial progress, which is relying on willpower alone. Willpower is a finite resource that depletes throughout the day. A well-designed automatic system does not deplete. It just works. Rule number 10 is about the true cost of everything you own, and this framework will permanently change how you evaluate every purchase you make. Everything you own has two costs. The first cost is what you paid for it. The second cost is what it costs you to continue owning it. And this second cost is where most people never look. Storage space costs money. Maintenance costs money. Insurance costs money. Sometimes there is a third cost, and that depends on whether or not you finance that purchase. That cost is interest. The mental energy required to manage, organize, and maintain possessions is a real resource being consumed, and the opportunity cost of money tied up in depreciating possessions rather than invested in growing assets is often the largest cost of all. Before any significant purchase, calculate not just the price tag, but the full ongoing cost of ownership and potentially financing. This single habit eliminates most impulsive purchases because the true math makes them clearly unattractive. Rule number 11 addresses something that separates modest earners who build wealth from high earners who never accumulate any assets. Never upgrade simply because you can. You may have heard this concept before from Tyler Durden. The phone that makes calls and runs apps does not need replacement because a newer model exists. The car that reliably transports you does not need replacement because the current model has updated styling. The furniture that serves its purpose does not need replacement because you've grown bored with looking at it. Boredom is not a financial emergency. It's a feeling, and it passes. Meanwhile, the cost of constantly upgrading functional items adds up to extraordinary sums over a lifetime. Apply this standard consistently. Replace things when they genuinely fail to serve their purpose, not when you want novelty or when marketing convinces you that a newer version exists. Rule number 12 is about the environments you create around spending and saving. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance more reliably than almost any other principle. If spending is effortless and saving requires conscious effort, you will spend. The solution is to engineer your environment so that good financial behaviors are easy and impulsive spending behaviors face friction. Remove your credit card numbers from online retailers so purchases require deliberate entry. Implement a waiting period before any non-essential purchase, 24 hours minimum, 30 days for anything significant. Delete shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from promotional emails that exist to manufacture desire for things you didn't want before you saw the advertisement. Simultaneously, make saving and investing as frictionless as possible. Automate, simplify, and remove obstacles from the behaviors you want to perform consistently. Environmental design is more reliable than personal resolve alone. Rule number 13 is about income, and we need to address it directly. And if some of you are superstitious, just call this Rule 12B. You can only cut expenses so far before you hit a genuine floor. Everyone needs food, shelter, transportation, and basic necessities. But income has no ceiling. The financially disciplined do not choose between cutting expenses and increasing income. They do both simultaneously, and critically, when income increases, they keep their expenses flat. Every additional dollar earned goes towards savings and investments rather than lifestyle upgrades. Start small. Remember what we talked about earlier? What skill do you have that someone would pay for? What problem can you solve? What side project could you begin while maintaining your primary income? The goal is not immediate dramatic income growth. The goal is directional movement upward on income while maintaining discipline on spending, because the gap between what you earn and what you spend is precisely where wealth accumulates. Rule number 14 is about protecting your most important asset, not your savings account, not your investment portfolio, but you, your ability to earn, to think clearly, to maintain discipline, and to continue building over time is worth more than any single financial decision you will make. This means investing in skills that increase your earning potential, a course that makes you meaningfully more valuable professionally, pays returns that no stock market index can match. It means protecting your physical health because illness and physical decline are among the most financially destructive forces in any person's life. It means protecting your mental and emotional health because financial discipline requires clear thinking, and chronic stress, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion compromise decision-making in ways that are invisible until the consequences appear on your bank statement. And the last rule, rule number 15, is the one that ties everything together. It's ultimately about mindset rather than mechanics. Build a life you are not trying to escape from. This sounds philosophical, but the financial implications are profound and measurable. A significant portion of spending behavior is driven by emotional pain, the bad job that you compensate for with retail therapy, the unfulfilling routine that you relieve with expensive entertainment, the anxiety that you temporarily silence with purchases that provide a brief dopamine spike before the feeling returns. When your life has genuine meaning, when your work feels worthwhile, when your relationships are healthy, when you wake up with a sense of purpose, the compulsive urge to spend money as an emotional crutch diminishes dramatically. You stop needing to buy feelings you can generate internally. And when spending stops being about emotional relief and becomes about genuine value, every financial decision you make improves. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Financial independence is not a destination that suddenly appears after one great decision or one extraordinary year. It's the accumulated result of consistent behavior repeated over time. It's paying yourself first every single month, without exception. It's investing consistently, even when markets are volatile and the news is alarming. It's defining the word enough and refusing to let lifestyle inflation consume every raise and bonus you receive. It's engineering your environment so that discipline is the default rather than the exception. It's learning the rules of the money game and committing to playing it with increasing skill and consistency over the years and decades that are left. The people who achieve genuine financial independence are not usually the highest earners in their social circles. They're almost always the most consistent. They're the ones who started small and never stopped, who invested through market downturns while others panicked and sold, who kept their lifestyle modest while their income grew, who built emergency funds before they built investment portfolios, who automated their financial behaviors so that discipline did not depend entirely on daily willpower. These rules are not complicated. What's rare is the willingness to follow them consistently, even when it's inconvenient, even when friends are spending freely, even when the short-term sacrifice feels more real than the long-term gain. That willingness is the actual edge. That is the difference between financial anxiety and financial freedom, and it's available to you starting right now. I hope you got a ton of value from this video, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and drop your own thoughts and ideas in the comments. My name is Flint, and I will see you in the next video.